welcome back to another episode of Planet Coaster. Today is episode number 11. Yes, it's number 11, and today we are continuing to work on the sort of pirate village area here in the park. And yeah, I'm kind of over here off to the opposite side of the pirate ship from where we have the roller coaster, and I was just kind of getting a little tired of building the area around the roller coaster, so I decided to do something a little bit different for this episode. And there's a lot of finish work that still needs to go into all of this area, because yeah, there's still a ton left to do, and just need to bring everything together now. So yeah, I kind of worked over here on this area, and this is kind of going to be like our sort of whatchamacallit, an area for like different shops and that. And yeah, I think just having the little bit of that here is gonna help in making everything kind of fit together here at the end. So that was kind of the idea on to do all of this stuff here, and at the same time the back will kind of tie into the thing down below, so we can kind of have both of those together. So yeah, definitely happy with how all of that turned out. And yeah, this is basically us just building it in, and lots of little details on here. So I think I like how this building turned out, and it was just more or less just layering stuff on over and over and making it just kind of feel like a cohesive thing. So yeah, and I used these like pillars again because I do think they're probably one of the better details that makes this area kind of pop, and I think that's definitely good to have something like that for this area. And yeah, as you can probably tell, we're trying to get the back areas here with the trim as well, which was a little bit harder than it should have been, probably just because of where this stuff was located. So yeah, and then we kind of got like the sides here on this back part where we kind of also need to bring in those details. And yeah, that corner over there with the curved wall is kind of one of those that was a little harder to actually make that kind of fit in, and I don't know if I ever actually managed to do it at one point, or if it's just kind of gonna stick out the entire time. So if it does, yeah, that's kind of my fault. And yeah, I decided to go in here and do like some more decorative windows again using one of the door frames. And I like how the window here turns out. Yeah, and then got a lot of detail into one sort of like window decoration here. And while this is kind of going to be a little bit set further back, I think that just having the detail around it definitely helps. So, oh yeah, and I also put like these like sort of interesting plants here. I don't end up doing that. I end up actually using, yeah, just one of the bushes here, turn it upside down, and kind of fit it in so it looks like it's hanging from that net, and like the actual plant itself is contained inside, which actually worked out pretty well for us. And yeah, I also take this area and I texture the wall back behind the window here to make an interesting look behind it, and make the building so it doesn't look like it's completely just one solid thing. And I think having all that detail in here together was very helpful. Did have a problem selecting those two pieces because it kept selecting the door instead, and That is one thing with trying to get these little details and moving them over and everything, is that you do tend to lose those little things that you have a very hard time to select. And I mean, just trying to draw a box around it, you select everything behind it too, rather than just what you're trying to select. So I end up just kind of basically using these same pieces and just kind of place them in the same spot so I can make it feel cohesive and do a little do a little bit of the greenery back here just so we can kind of tie everything in. And I mean, they're small spaces, so it's pretty easy to kind of fill all of this in and don't really have to worry too much about it. And oh yeah, since that edge kind of looked kind of weird, yeah, I put a rock over there on the corner just to make it so it didn't stick out too much, and I think that definitely helped with that area. And yeah, so this is the bathroom building, which you probably saw from me placing it in at the beginning. So then I think, yeah, we try to put like maybe a different style of window here on these back ones, which did, yeah, I kind of used it as a ledge. And yeah, and then we, yeah, ooh, yeah, the kind of put some decoration into those as well, make it feel like it's continuing to be a cohesive sort of thing, and that's pretty important to have. And oh yeah, the way I kind of layer the fences in there together is pretty good for us. I did first think that I wanted to put some bushes in here, but it ended up not looking very good, so actually I guess I did. Um, okay, it wasn't the ones I thought I put there, but I did put bushes there in the end. And yeah, just kind of decorating all of this up and making it look like an interesting sort of unit, and do a little bit different of a window in these spots, more just kind of playing rather than, making it look like something that it's not supposed to be. And yeah, toilet. Let people know that this is the bathroom. That's always important. And then, yeah, I think we're going to shift here to the back of the building, which I end up making this a little bit further back and kind of try to disguise the building itself. So I end up taking out this side and using the textures from the front for the side here. Just this one side, the other side doesn't get it, but yeah, then we just kind of use some trees in that and block the transition as much as possible, just so that way it's kind of hard to tell that it's there. And that actually turned out pretty well for us. So oh yes, and then that little detail down there in the corner. And this side over here is visible to the whatchamacallit, the Sky Ace, I think is the right name. And yeah, just having this little area back here visible to that, and then the other side visible to the pirate-themed area, was an interesting sort of thing to need to do in this area, but it turned out pretty well, I'd say, and definitely happy with how all this worked. So next we're going to be placing in some windows here, and these windows are not centered on anything. Yeah, that was kind of a mistake at the beginning, because then I'll realize, oh, I was trying to do other stuff with this, and now I can't because of where things are located. So yeah, those windows are going to be deleted momentarily and replaced with new ones, because I can't actually use them where they're located at the current time. And yeah, there we go, we're moving those things, and then Yeah, adding some little details of the back part here that will be visible from the ride, and a few rocks into it looks like. All right. And yeah, so here is where we kind of fill the rest of this area in and basically make it full. And here we go. Now we're getting rid of the windows. We're gonna place it. Oh, we apparently place a door off to the side over there. It's kind of backstage area, and aha, here is where we go in and do the interesting part where we have the sort of detail down there at the bottom. Do I end up putting the windows back down there? I thought I did, but maybe I don't. And yes, this time I'm using the grid lines below the windows just so I can kind of line everything up correctly. And yeah, we give it a little bit of a area on the bottom too, just to make it look like it fits in together. And yeah, I think that definitely helps tie this entire building in. And yeah, that far end right now is kind of still open, but it's not going to be for long. So I think just kind of combining the colors here to kind of helped bring everything together. And here we go back to the front again, and I'm trying to kind of make some sort of roofs here, and I end up using, I think, yeah, the wooden plank here, and just kind of, fit this in, make it look like it's kind of a roof, but it's not really, because there's only so much we can do with that, and especially considering we have the backside open, it doesn't really do too much for us to have it a full roof, because you basically just need to disguise it. Make it look like this is a full building when it's more so just a facade. So yeah, there's a little bit sticking out the bottom there, but it's not that big of a deal. So I do end up taking those windows and putting them onto these areas up above, which I think does tie that in together and does a pretty good job at it. So here we move on to taking out some trees and the next building, which will be down a little bit further. And I think if I remember right, that is the hamburger shop, the Chief Beef or whatever it's called. Yeah, that is what it's called. Or we're doing more path work because I apparently felt like it, and apparently that's what's happening, and you don't know why I did this, but I did, so it's here. And yes, that's where I kind of decide that shop is gonna go. Kind of in a sort of different angle from the rest of the area here, so kind of actually turned out pretty cool for us, and I feel like that detail in here made everything work out a lot better and kind of fit everything in this area together. So yeah, I do end up putting some sort of, making this kind of a tower over here, and not as tall as the other ones, just kind of cementing, hey, this is kind of our starting area, and just kind of do some similar stuff we've done with other areas like it. So get kind of the pillars in again and get other kinds of stuff in here, and works out pretty well for us. So do like that we do get this extra bit of detail in here, and it's more or less just, okay, we need to kind of just fit everything together. Here I go trying to place this thing in, and I don't place it incorrectly at first, so these are all going to be off, and then I'll fix them later, but that's kind of a different matter, and, well, it actually still turns out looking pretty nice. I think just kind of having these sort of pillars here just ties everything in together even more so than it did before, and bring kind of the detail from the other towers over, even though this one looks very different from those ones. But yeah, I think just continuing details around is just kind of what needs to be done. And oh yeah, we need another bell in here just because, the bells are important. And I end up hiding the bell actual, like the rod sort of thing across. I end up hiding it behind these sort of stucco trim, and so that way it's not really visible. And there I am doing that, and oh yeah, I do end up doing this as well, kind of decorating this area in with the wood. And I think that actually turns out pretty well too. I do like that little bit of extra detail, and then I also end up putting windows on the two full ones here, the front and that side, because I feel like since both of those are going to be exposed areas, we might as well kind of decorate them up a little bit and make them feel like they're meant to be there, and kind of just let this all fill in together. Now, I do end up moving the windows quite a few times, trying to center them, but I think that's about as centered as they get, so that was interesting. And yeah, just a little bit of a bottom part there to it as well. And then I believe I copy all of this and move it over to the side after I am done with it. Lots of moving it around, trying to get it in the exact spots I want it to be, which... Oh, that's right, I put some more of those plants in here too, which looks kind of nice and just continues to bring everything together, so definitely happy about that. And yeah, so then I think we're now going to select all those items and basically move it over to the side so we can get that one going. And there we go. Now we're placing in some trim, and all of this stuff gets copied and moved to the side over here. And yeah, so we kind of get the little bit of a parallel there, and then I all of a sudden realize, oh hey, these weren't actually attached to the building before. So here we go, replacing them all over again, and yeah. Then we get this kind of weird effect where we actually have it poking through the sides, which means we have to adjust every single one of these, which is awesome. And yeah, as you can tell, we haven't actually worked on the rest of this building, just kind of the tower here, and don't remember if I actually get to the rest of this building or if it's just the building in the middle kind of connecting these two. That's what I do for the rest of it. I think that's what happens, so yeah, it's just kind of, filling things in, making this look like it makes sense. And as far as I can, if I remember, this tower is actually visible from the opposite side as well, which is fine because we did kind of bring a little bit of this down into there, so it kind of transitions pretty well anyways, so I'm not too worried about that. And yep, here we go, kind of building the rest of the base of this, or at least the front part of it, because, oh, we do the back part as well, and give it kind of an interesting shape here, just so that way we have something to look at from the back side. And it also kind of still fits in with our skies area here, and I think at some point I end up... Yeah, I'm gonna have to end up putting the foliage and the rock work on the back wall there, so we have that kind of filled in, and basically all I'm doing now is just kind of making a wall that kind of transitions these two buildings together, and at the same time allows the back side here for us to not have to worry too much about the detail there. So there we go. We're kind of moving that back a little bit so we can get a little bit better of an intersection there. And yeah, I end up using some different details in this part, and as you can tell, the tower kind of doesn't really line up well to this part, so that was kind of interesting to work with. And then we get this sort of interesting roof here, which kind of put enough detail in here to kind of make it look like those are just open windows, and I put stuff back into the windows to give it the detail that tower actually needs, and basically it's all just coming together, making it look like one thing, and you know, that's an easier thing to say than to actually do. And there we go, kind of getting the walls in here, and as you can tell, we went for the wood walls rather than the whole other style of walls, just because I think it fit in better to this area. So that was kind of the idea behind it, but I think I end up, yeah, going with other stuff completely for the roof here, just because what I had before didn't really make tons of sense. And here we go, finally figuring out that we're gonna have to move those other walls down, because, you know, they're gonna get in the way of any sort of roof we try to do up here. And oh yeah, this was a very interesting sort of roof. Kind of got this idea for these roofs because the back of these doors are actually just kind of a solid wood piece, and I've seen other people do this as well, so it's not my idea, but I do like how it looks, and it kind of tiles pretty well without using too much detail, so I'm happy with that, doing this way. And then I just replace it downward a little bit so that way the top of that doesn't poke out so much, and we can kind of tie the two together there pretty easily. Also end up getting some other details into this wall at the top here with, I think, more, yeah, the stucco down below, and then we get more of those planters, if I remember correctly, which was kind of nice for us. And oh yeah, some flags here too. Yep, there goes the things we're gonna put the plants in, and there's 1 and 2. Yeah, just that, I feel like that is what helps us tie everything in together on this entire facade. And you know, just having those little details that move from one to the next is basically what this area needs. So yeah, just a few little details in the windows up here at the top, and then I start putting this in, but I didn't like it, so I remove it right away, and then I end up kind of bringing in the path here, and like I said, kind of bring in the path, because then I mess it up and have to basically rebuild the entire thing, because I'm like that, and I apparently like to build paths constantly, so that's a thing. And yeah, the path actually, the shape of it changed there a little bit just because of everything I had to delete, and well, It kind of ends up being sort of weird here for a little while, just because I'm trying to get all of this stuff in, and I think that's how I end up leaving it, and then just putting a little, yeah, putting some barrels there in the middle with, I think, just a rock in between them, just kind of hide that that's actually a division in the path there, and it works out well enough for us. So yeah, then we just I think we put a little bit of detail down into the bottom part here, and I think we're actually approaching the finish here, just getting this tower here, kind of shape it up a little bit better, and I think it's just this sort of turret we use on it, because there's not really anything that's small enough to kind of line up with the sort of circular tower that's doing this, and I don't know why there isn't. There just isn't. So yeah, that's actually going to be all that we end up doing for this episode. A little flag on top of that, but that's actually it. So thank you all for watching this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!